Good morning, one and all, and welcome to another episode here at the Damage Report. Today is a Tuesday. That used to be such a chaotic day here. You never knew who you were gonna get in terms of co-hosts, and sometimes that's still the case. But more often than not, a special surprise that's getting less surprising every week is awaiting you, Senator Nina Turner. Nina Turner, how's it going?
It's going well, John. Glad to be here with you. And no more, I'm not a guest anymore. I'm family.
That's true. That's true. Okay, and we love to have you here. If it wasn't clear, I'm excited, and I'm excited to talk about some of the stories we have. I do want to apologize in advance, as I do for most shows. You're a really good person, and so I don't want to do this to you with the news, but some of it's, it's American political news. It's not gonna be fun. So, but sorry about that.
That's okay. We'll weather it together.
We will. Me and you, and thankfully a lot of you already in the chat on Twitch and YouTube and the members and everything. So thank you everybody for being here. Love to have you here. Would love you marginally more if you'd hit the like button and share the stream. So if you want that, if you're going for that maximal level of love from me, that would be a great thing to do. And if you have any comments, tweets, super chats, questions, anything like that as we go through the next 90 minutes of news, feel free to send it to us and we'll respond during our breaks. Also, little heads up that to close out the show, we're gonna be doing another Meanwhile In, and I swear we're not trying to do this, but more often than not, our Meanwhile Ins have been about animals lately. So we've got lava dogs and cocaine hippos. I swear it's legitimate news, and we're gonna be discussing it later on if you wanna know what those mean. It's not just my bar trivia team name, although it's also that. Anyway, with that, Nina Turner, you ready to talk about some news, not about lava dogs?
Let's do it.
Okay, unfortunately, it's gonna be a bit of a difficult transition from the jokiness, but everyone hold on to your butts, is gonna get kind of difficult. I wanna give you an update on a story we last talked about, or mostly talked about 2 years ago or so, when it broke. This news broke that a Border Patrol agents, a number of them, had been involved in a private social media group where they were sharing absolutely disgusting, violent, horrendous memes about migrants, about members of Congress. We talked about it in this video, Border Patrol agents exposed, which many people thankfully watched. And well, there was a lot of terrible stuff in there. In particular, they had been demonizing and sexualizing relatively new at that point, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez with photoshopped images of her, let's just say it, of her being raped by migrants, by President at that point, Donald Trump. She tweeted about it last year, saying last year CBP officers circulated mock-up images of my violent rape ahead of my visit to their facilities. They hung framed photos of officers aiming guns at people on the walls. Later that day, they refused to protect members of Congress when armed Trump supporters were outside. So there's the violence, there's the rape imagery. It's horrendous that this culture was so widespread. Now that was 2 years ago, so we've had some time for something to be done, and it wasn't. The House Committee on Oversight and Reform has released a report this week about what ended up happening to all of those Border Patrol agents who were found to have been involved in that group that was sharing this absolutely horrendous imagery, including, by the way, the group being called I'm 1015, that being code for aliens in custody. It's a weird culture that they've got there. But anyway, their investigation found that, quote, a Border Patrol agent who posted a sexually explicit doctored image and derogatory comments about a member of Congress had his discipline reduced from a recommended removal from the agency to a 60-day suspension and was awarded back pay afterward. So the person who did one of the worst things, I mean, we can weigh which is worse out of the showing images of migrants who have died and having jokey names for migrants who had passed away to fantasizing about the rape of a member of Congress. It's up to you to decide how you rank, how horrible those things are. But he ended up just being suspended for 60 days and then got his pay back, Nina Turner. So we're gonna talk about some of the others, but one of the most noteworthy cases, CBP did not care to do much at all about that.
No, and those above either. I mean, we definitely need a cultural change within this department. It is very clear this should be unacceptable, and you don't reward a person or persons for this type of outrageous, irresponsible behavior. And of course, the last administration wasn't going to do a damn thing, but this administration should. And it also reminds me too, John, I will be curious to know what is going to happen to those agents that use the reins of their horses to whip at the Haitian immigrants. These are the same. It's a cultural dynamic within that department that needs to be totally changed. Like clean out, clean house, and bring in people who have a different type of mentality and consciousness. And for God's sakes, there should be consequences and repercussions for that type of behavior, but not to be rewarded. I mean, why would you change your behavior if at the end of this you're going to be rewarded for what you did?
Exactly, and that's what it is. I mean, we're going to be talking later in the show about paid leave and whether we're going to get it. Well, we found a way that you can get paid leave. Do this horrendous thing, you'll get 60 days off, and you'll get to pay for it. So, hey, progress in America. Yeah, and your reference to the whipping of the Haitian migrants. Well, I mean, surely we have President Biden now. The Democrats have been taken over, so I'm sure they will take it much more seriously down at the border.
I am not gonna hold my breath on that, John.
No, I am not, and it very much is like imagine if you're a new person entering into the CBP. Let's say that you don't have an inclination to do these sorts of things. What are you gonna be like after a year or two? Are you gonna wage a one-person war to reform the culture? Fight back against all these like familial groups that are sharing these memes, and if you see someone abusing a migrant in person, you're gonna shut that down. Maybe some people will do that, but how many? How many will instead just be absorbed into this culture in the same way that we see in police, police departments around the country? So again, like you cannot just do little like reforms around the edges. This needs to be wholly cleaned out, because otherwise those with seniority that have thrived under this culture, they're just gonna continue it, and they're gonna beat the new ones into submission until they comply with it in the same way that they do with the cops. That's my fear anyway.
No, that's exactly right. And we need people with the higher ranking to understand. I mean, why would you even, what they did to the Congresswoman certainly is unacceptable. This is probably not the first time. It's probably more public because it did happen to Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez. But trust, this type of blatant culture exists, and it will continue to exist unless some folks are made examples of. That is the bottom line. And there should be a zero tolerance. I mean, these people were blatant enough to put their transgressions right out there in the open for all to see, because they know that nothing of substance, nothing substantial is going to happen to them or the people who are above them. So the people above them need to take action and to make it very clear that this type of behavior is not tolerated. And some folks need to lose jobs or pay or whatever it takes to make sure that there's a cultural shift in that department.
Yeah, and when you use the word few, you're of course being colloquial, but in this case, we can't even get a few. I define few as at least 3. We can't even get to 3 out of this. I'm gonna give you a couple more examples. We have a Border Patrol supervisor who posted an internal CBP video of a migrant falling off a cliff to their death, was not fired, was given a 30-day suspension. It was recommended that this person be fired, but again, culture being what it is, they decided, no, we're not gonna take that recommendation, 30-day suspension. An agent with a quote history of multiple infractions, including posting a photo of a drowned migrant father and child, calling them floaters, was not removed, but rather allowed to retire with disability benefits. That's great. Let's see, so there were 60 who were identified as having committed misconduct having to do with this group. 57 are still working with migrants, only 2 were removed. So again, not even a few. And you have some letters of reprimand. Oh geez, don't hurt them. Don't hurt them, CBP. 3 alternate disciplinary actions such as suspension with pay. Cenk, if you're watching this, please suspend me with pay. I've got some hobbies I wanna work on. I'm sure I've done something wrong. Suspend me with pay for 30 days. And look, some people might watch this and might think, well, they're memes, come on, they're videos. Who cares? Which, by the way, I wholly disagree with that. But the issue isn't just with the memes. These people are actually working with migrants, which I will remind you are human beings. So when they interact with those people, Should we trust them with those people? Are they gonna treat them with dignity, with respect? Are they gonna trust them if they, are sick or something like that? If they're injured, are they gonna really expedite care for these people, medical help for these people? If you are a part of this culture that believes that, like, oh God, I hope a migrant dies and I get it on video so I can share it and get some upvotes. Is that someone that you would trust dealing with these humans? I don't, but CBP clearly does.
Just a blatant indifference to human life. Also, in the psychology of being able to do this kind of stuff, it's not just a meme, it's not just a video. There's something wrong with the psychology of the people who work in this department, both the frontline folks and the folks above them. There's a certain psychology here that treats migrants, immigrants, refugees, people trying to seek refuge in this country. And we have laws, so we got to remind folks, we have a process by which people can seek this refuge. It is not illegal to seek the refuge. And so from the beginning, it just seems as though as soon as these people hit our shores, our land, they are treated as they are less than human beings, because there's a psychology within that department that says, regulates, in the heart of, obviously, by the way that they're acting, that somehow people coming, especially people of color, let's be clear, black and brown, are the other. And it is absolutely an extension of how black and brown people are treated, domestic black and brown folks are treated here in this country. All of this is connected, as Professor Crenshaw, there is an intersectionality to this type of treatment. It's not just a one-off, John. It's not just those people over there. It is an extension of a mindset, of a construction that we feel in America, and particularly those who go into some type of law enforcement field. And so we need to attract different types of people and change the conditions.
I agree.
And what is accepted in law enforcement across the board.
I agree. Yeah. And everything that you're saying is totally possible. This isn't like, there was a report recently of, Mohammed bin Salman wanting to kill his dad with like a poison ring. And like, I can report on that and like, you can like care about it, but there's not much we can directly do. It's a different country or whatever. CBP is here. It is governed by the executive branch. And we joke about Biden, but Biden is in charge of it. So like they could do something about this. Maybe their supervisors aren't taking this stuff seriously. Can them? You can do that. You can get rid of them. You can put someone in charge of CBP that believes that fundamental reform is necessary. And I wish that we lived in a world where talking about it, like NPR had a report on this. I think the New York Times has talked about it in the last day. We're doing a video here on Damage Report. That might not be enough. So I hope that members of Congress, especially those who've been targeted by this, will bring it up. They have no obligation to, but if they want to, do a hearing. Bring in the head of the CBP. I would love to see Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who has been the personal target of this disgusting behavior, shed another spotlight on it. She's tried multiple times, and reform has been stymied because virtually nobody cares about what's happening, either to migrants or to representatives. But let's take another crack at it. We have Biden now, maybe something could actually be done.
John, just because things as they are exist today doesn't mean they have to exist tomorrow. So you are absolutely right. That is the key point, that this does not have to be the reality moving forward. But people got to take action.
Yeah. Now let's make it even more real. We found out this week that Border Patrol hasn't taken seriously the disgusting culture of dehumanization and all of that we've learned more and more about over the past couple of years. And I want to remind people of the cost of that, because the cost is significant. The Federal Office of Refugee Resettlement, which takes in and processes and eventually settles underage immigrants, apparently received more than 4,500 allegations of sexual abuse and sexual harassment just in the period from 2015 to 2018. So I'm not great at math or anything, but that's more than 1,000 cases a year. I'm sure that they've cleaned it up since then. Those numbers have probably dropped down to nothing. But one would hope that in a country where the right has become increasingly obsessed with the specter of a behind the scenes government cabal of people who are raping children, that this would be something that they would seize on and maybe do something about these offices. We have 178 complaints against staff at the shelters. Youth care workers escorting the children everywhere they go are being accused of sexual assault, rape, things like that. Complaints range from inappropriate romantic relationships between children and adults to watching children shower. So that's specifically 2 children. And again, how this, like, aren't we supposed to care about children, like fundamentally? Like, the QAnon nonsense aside, we're supposed to protect children. Unfortunately, that assumes that we actually consider them human children, worthy of dignity, and too many Americans don't in this case. We also have horrendous behavior towards adults as well. So we're gonna talk about that in just a sec, but I want to give you a chance to jump in, Nina.
It definitely makes my skin crawl, John. I almost don't have any words. Even the report about a dog biting the testicles of I believe it was a child, even if it was an adult. This is a mentality. This is it. And you are gonna have to clean house. There is no reforming of this kind of mess. It must be transformed. And not to even have a heart for other people's children. Jesus. And you know what? These children grow up to become adults. So if you don't love them as children, you damn sure not gonna love them as adults. And that is crystal clear. They treat these people as if they are the other, not deserving of. That really is it. This is in their heart. We talk a lot about, I don't know what's in so-and-so's heart. Well, maybe sometimes we can't tell what is in somebody's heart, but your actions give us a little glimpse. Not that people can't change, don't get me wrong, but your actions, and this is not individual actions, John. If this was just a one-off or maybe 2, that would be a different thing. But this type of behavior and treatment is embedded in the system, in the hierarchy, in how they operate, how the Border Patrol operates on a regular basis. So nobody can sit up here and pretend like they don't know that there's a sickness and a plague within this department that needs to be dealt with. And I mean stat. That what they say in the hospital, when you hear the word stat, that means right damn away, right away.
Yep. And if we don't, what are we gonna get? We're gonna get cases like this. You referenced one. I'm just gonna run through a few of these. So this is coming from a report from Human Rights Watch. It's available on their website. They treat you like you're worthless. You can go there and get the numbers, get individual cases. I'm gonna give you just a couple of little things that they reference. So in 2017, US Border Patrol agent kneed a woman in the lower pelvis, leaving bruises and pain days later, according to her statement to a government official screening her asylum claim. Just knee a woman in her lower pelvis, that's how you treat people. That same year, a Border Patrol agent or Customs and Border Patrol officer forced a girl to undress and then inappropriately touched her. I just want to bear in mind, when there are 4,500 accusations of sexual assault, first of all, do you think that all of them had a claim made against them? Like, you think that these migrants always feel like they can speak up when this happens? So God only knows how many the numbers actually is. This is what one of those looks like. You're forced to undress, and then the Border Patrol starts fondling you, starts groping you. That's one. We had 4,500 in 3 years. Okay, so we have in 2018, a CBP officer hit another asylum applicant so hard he was knocked unconscious and his brain swelled. That same year, an officer wearing a green uniform, consistent with those of the Border Patrol, asked an asylum applicant to give him oral sex in exchange for being released from custody. Another asylum applicant was bitten in the testicle by Border Patrol service dog and then was denied medical treatment for about 1 month and ultimately had to have his testicles surgically removed. In 2019, CBP officials appeared to withhold food from a man in a freezing cold holding facility until he agreed to sign a paper that he did not understand. So the coercion comes in multiple forms. There's sexual coercion, there's violent coercion, there's threats of deportation to coerce migrants to do what they want, and you can be abused sexually and physically, whether you're a child or an adult, whether you're alone, whether people are around, it all happens. And this is the system that we're told is illegitimate for us to demand that it be reformed, that ICE be taken away, that CBP undergo massive reform. This is what's happening every single day. Any final thoughts, Nina?
These people are sick, John. Sick, and they should not have these jobs at all. Yeah. We need people who actually care about humanity to be Border Patrol. I know they got a tough job to do, especially if it's the smuggling of drugs and that kind of thing. There's something that Homeland, well, I'm speaking of Homeland, but these folks right here are sick and they need to be weeded out and some heads need to roll.
100%. Yeah, by the way, right loves talk every day about, why aren't they talking about the situation at the border? Let's talk about the situation at the border. Let's talk about the inhumanity and the violence, the assaults at the border. Let's actually talk about that and let's do something about it. Okay, with that, we are gonna have to go to our first break. When we come back though, the Billionaire Boys Club, protecting billionaires to stop any reform from happening in this reconciliation bill. We've got some amazing video to play for you after this. Okay, everybody, let's see what's going on out there. By the way, I saw Mini Morpho. I saw the good news about you becoming a tattoo artist. That's awesome. If people don't know, Mini Morpho streams awesome art. She's done sort of the dragon incarnation of a lot of people, immortalized in some of our coasters. Great art. Can't wait to see the tattoos. Maybe someday, if I ever decide to pull the trigger on one, maybe it could be Mini Morpho. How amazing would that be? I would like just a dragon curling around my face. I think that would really sell the whole thing and not scare anyone. Anyway, let's see what else is going on out there. We have more multicast news, everyone's favorite news. So some of you might be watching this right now, like I'm talking to you. You might be watching at youtube.com/The Young Turks. You might even have been doing that for a while. Well, get ready for some change because that multicast is not gonna last that much longer. In fact, starting on Monday, November 1st, the live stream for the damage report will disappear from the Young Turks. That does not mean that I'm being fired, although I don't rule out the possibility. So instead, just go to youtube.com/The Damage Report and you can watch the live stream. Great community. You can hang out with us. We do a pre-show before, so just subscribe to the channel, ring the bell, do whatever the hell they need you to do for the algorithm. By the way, also, we're entering into a big anniversary year for TYT, 2 decades of doing this thing we're doing, and we wanted to look back on some of the positive impact that our community has had, that they've allowed us to be able to do. And so if you want to see some of this, you can go to tyt.com/impacts. And you can see some of what we've helped to achieve over the past few years. Pushing for a $15 an hour minimum wage, giving an early platform to a lot of our best elected progressives, Cori Bush, Jamal Bowman, AOC, the Progressive Economic Pledge, a whole bunch of other stuff as well. That's at tyt.com/impacts. Okay, let's see what's going on out there in the audience. I'm burning through this break. Let's see, Dragon Dancer has been a tier 2 member for 11 months, says, glad to start my Saturday with John and Senator Nina Turner. What I look forward to most on my weekend, thanks to you all for breaking it down. Thank you. Let's see, I don't know if you're in the same field, but I worked in food service for many years, so it was very weird to have like that midweek break, because obviously you weren't getting a weekend. John Pavan, welcome to tier 1 membership. Tashina King, welcome to tier 2, thank you for being with us. Alex Ceresi as well, Leon Braxter 2, all becoming members. Jessica Long, look at all these people signing up for membership today. Thank you for being here. Michelle Phelps has been a tier 1 member for 9 months, says birthday today, bonus member chat, and Nina. A B-Day shout out from John and Nina would be the icing on the cake. Happy birthday, and thank you for being with us. Appreciate you being here.
Yes, happy
let's
birthday.
See. Oh, thank you. Cindy Stuecki has been a tier 1 member for 10 months, says, I hit 11 months in a few days, so I better use my freebie. Just wishing everyone a happy day and hope everyone is doing well. Love the Dragon Squad. We love you back, thank you for being here. In the super chat, Jonathan says, it was my birthday over the weekend and I was wondering if I could get a happy birthday from my 2 heroes, please. Thank you both, stay awesome and safe, Dragon Squad. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Hope it was a good one. Tashina King, thank you for the super chat, appreciate it. Ray Turner says, has Senator Nina Turner chosen her dragon name yet? I don't know, have we talked about that?
No, we haven't, but remember somebody had, what was it, Black Dragon Pearl or something. Remember last week?
Good. That is good. I mean, we've talked about it a couple times. Maybe we need to make it official. I like it.
We do.
Okay, oh God, we're running out of time. Obi-Wan Kenobi gifted 5 tier 1 subs over at Twitch and hit 19 months. Damn, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Blue Tech, the Belgian Dragon, gifted 5 tier 1 subs. Thank you so much. I see a lot more going on. We will get to it, but we'll be back in just a few. Okay, Mini Morpho saying I'll have to head up to Portland, Oregon to get the tattoo. Now I'm getting scared. It's becoming real. Well, We'll see, we'll see. I've backed out of a lot of tattoos in my life, and I'm not afraid to do it again. Anyway, with that, why don't we turn to news? Great news, it's all positive. Take a look.
Well, it's not a good idea to tell billionaires, don't come to America, don't start your business here, to tell the Steve Jobs and the Bill Gates and people like that, this isn't the place to begin your business, go somewhere else. That's a bad idea. But number two, you're going to tax people not when they sell something, but just when they own it and the value goes up. And what that means is that people are, these multi-billionaires, are going to look and say, I don't want to invest in the stock market because as that goes up, I'm going to get taxed. So maybe I will instead invest in a ranch or in paintings or things that don't build jobs and create a stronger economy.
Yeah, those also go up in value. So I don't understand that argument in like 10 different ways. But I do understand one thing, Nina Turner, and that is that Mitt Romney does not want any taxes on billionaires. And they are just scrambling with nonsense to convince people that we shouldn't do these taxes. Oh, and also, since we're not gonna be doing the taxes, this reconciliation infrastructure bill should be as small as possible. I mean, there'd be no money to pay for anything. And those things would benefit like you watching this, I'm talking to you who's watching this video, that would help you, but nah, you don't need it. You don't need it. At what cost? Come on, seriously, you're gonna tax a billionaire? They might subtly change their behavior for some reason. And so, Nina, we've seen this our whole lives. There's always gonna be this billionaire defense force, and Mitt Romney, for all the times that like, he's been willing to criticize Trump a little bit around the edges or whatever. When it comes to the core thing, which is protecting accumulated wealth, he is not gonna defy his team, and his team is in defense of the billionaires.
That's right, he's gonna stay on the side of his team, come hell or high water, as we say in the African American community. Yeah, the Billionaire Defense Squad is in full effect, both on the Democratic side and the Republican side. I mean, he sounds a lot like Senator Sinema, you ask me. I mean, they both singing from the same hymnal and just throwing their bodies down. Throwing the bodies down in front of any taxes on the billionaire class in this country. I think I read on Dr. Robert Reich's post, and Dr. Robert Reich does an extraordinary job, former US Labor Secretary in the Clinton administration, of really breaking down these complex economic issues so that everybody can understand. John, he had a post on IG that really reminded us that I believe it was in the late 1960s, the difference between wages between the CEO of a company, for example, and the worker was like 20 times. Right now, it's over 300 times. 300 times more. And you get rewarded as somebody at the top of that particular food chain for messing up. But if you are the worker that helps that business make the profits that they make, you get penalized. No health care or bad health care, low wages, all of the kinds of stuff that does not make for a good life for everyday people in this country, no matter how they politically identify. And to have Senator Romney say, "Oh my God, they'll invest in art or a farm," he knows good and well that the entire system itself is designed for people like him and people who have more wealth than he does. God forbid we start to regulate this system so that they pay their fair share and not starve federal government so that we cannot provide services. This is class warfare right here at its worst. And you got to have some kind of gall to sit up here and defend billionaires. Give me a break.
Yeah.
Those poor lowly billionaires, they need their senators to defend them.
I do feel bad for them. Like, oh God, they're gonna be forced to buy art. I feel like they're buying art already. I feel like they're doing that. Right. Yeah, it's nonsense. It's nonsense. This isn't even, come on, at least trickle down on me. This isn't even trickle down economics level. This is ranch and art. No, you're not gonna do that. That's not actually how it works. And look, it has been like a decades-long process to get people to understand some of the ways that the billionaires have both rigged the system and also the tax code, all the different tricks they have, which this valuation thing very much gets into. We're not gonna dive into all the specifics, but there are a lot of ways that they hide all of their wealth throughout their life from taxes, borrowing against it. That's a fun little trick that they can do that they don't have to pay taxes on. And then eventually they pass away, they hand it over to their kids, and nobody ever pays on this stuff. So they have fun little tricks, and slowly we're starting to understand them and getting a few people into elected office who will actually do something about it. And so they're getting a little bit nervous. I don't know why They've still got cinema. They've still got mansion. I think it's ridiculous, the idea that they're gonna have this billionaires tax, but I hope that I'm wrong. I really do. But they do seem at least a little bit nervous. You got Mitt Romney. You also have Mitch McConnell. It's great to see those two getting along. He said this about the plan to tax billionaires a little bit. This harebrained scheme would have the IRS penalizing people who invested wisely and compensating people who have invested poorly. So that is the difference, everyone, between billionaires and people like us. They just invested more wisely. I really should have gotten in, on the ground floor on Amazon. I really just should have done. I should have taken, every poor person should have taken the millions of dollars that they were given by their family and should have invested it more wisely. That's the difference. How offensive is that? That this is the difference. You guys were too stupid with your investments. You were like, paying 40 to 50% of what you make on rent, and like trying to eat and have health insurance. Those are stupid investments, you dummies. You should have been investing in tech or something. I don't know, but that's what Mitch McConnell is saying. And this, Nina Turner, to me is like, it is. We were talking yesterday on the show about, how do you win back a majority? Well, they're clearly not going to do it with their economic arguments, because this is the best thing they have, is yelling at the poor and telling them it's their fault. And that's why they turn to the culture war stuff. Because this Mitt Romney stuff, this Mitch McConnell stuff, like how far past are the majority of Americans past this nonsense? Like I hope that they understand that these people are there to protect not just millionaires and billionaires. Like Mitt Romney himself is worth hundreds of millions of dollars. He's speaking in defense of his own personal wealth. Why would a poor person trust him?
That is the $1 million question, pun definitely intended. I mean, John, some people do buy into this because a lot of people in our country hold out for one day I too can be Mitt Romney, or one day I too can be Jeff Bezos, and find ourselves, because of the propaganda and how the programming, I will say, to believe that, don't mess with them because I want to be one of them too. When the likelihood that is ever going to happen is absolutely slim to none. Unfortunately, that doesn't mean that people can't increase their wealth. I want to be very clear: progressives are not against wealth. It is unseen. It is greed. It's unfettered greed. The type of greed that starves government from being able to provide services, the type of greed that allows somebody like a Jeff Bezos, because Amazon ain't going nowhere, let's be clear. They are not going anywhere. So we need government not only to regulate them in a way that solves some of these conundrums, but for Jeff Bezos to have amassed the type of money. I'm just using him as an example, John. We can throw out some other ones. And then you don't want to pay your workers a living ass wage. They got to fight like hell to try to unionize and to have your entire company mount up against them. Hello, Bessemer, Alabama, and shout out to those employees. And we know organizing is going on in Staten Island right now, but that is what is begrudged. If you have to make your money off of the backs and the livelihood of other folks to their detriment, then something is wrong with the way that you are accumulating that wealth. And when you have that kind of money, where he's worth 22 billion or so dollars, 190 or something, because I know that him and the Tesla guy got into a tussle over who's the top dog in terms of being a 100 billionaire. It's something wrong, John. It's something wrong with these people. And I am hoping that the American people understand that the overwhelming majority of us do not have that kind of wealth, will not get that kind of wealth. And it is not necessarily, it is not good at all to have this outsized, wealth on the scale where so few people have so much and so many people have so little. And not only do so few people have so little, the prospect of them even getting a little more than what they have is very hard, because of people like Senator Mitt Romney and others on both sides of the aisle who will protect a system that is rotten to its very core.
Yep. And one of the things that we try to do, that thankfully some people try to do, is identify all of the rot. We don't like take one little section of it and say that's the rot, and then we pretend that the others don't exist. Mitch McConnell, Mitt Romney, absolutely rotten. They have many of the same billionaire friends as the person we're about to talk about as we go into this video.
I'm from Tucson, Arizona.
I think it's
and I'm wondering,
quite interesting.
I know you've met with dozens of lobbyists. I did not touch you. I'm meeting with dozens. I know you're meeting with dozens of lobbyists.
The world doesn't.
Okay, so that was Senator Kyrsten Sinema walking with Republican Senator Tim Scott, one of her constituents, tried to talk to her, and Sinema was not having it. Actually says at one point, "Don't touch me." I don't know that the woman had touched her. Don't think it's the worst thing in the world if she accidentally brushed against her. But she wasn't answering any questions. She wasn't even looking at the woman. She could not even pretend that a constituent had any right whatsoever to understand what Sinema is doing at this most critical time in the Biden administration. And Sinema, look, let's give her credit for this at least. She's been consistent. She doesn't care what her constituents think. She doesn't care about their questions. She was just really enraptured with what Republican Tim Scott was saying there, Nina. She couldn't bother to just say like, I'm having a conversation. I would love to talk to you another time. Not even anything like that. Just don't touch me. Get your dirty hands off me. I'm talking with another wealthy person who shares my concern over the wealthy.
There it is. I mean, she is being who she is. The question, Arizona, looking at you, Arizona, the great state of Arizona, are you gonna reward this woman's bad behavior and disdain for her constituents? Because we've seen her multiple times. This one is not a one-off either. We're not exaggerating here. This is how she feels about the people who live in her state. Arizona, you can do a new thing, which is to make sure that this woman is not reelected to that office and that she is held accountable. She is in that seat, not able to sit there comfortably. Now, brushing up against somebody is one thing by accident. I don't believe anybody should put their hands on anybody. I want to be clear. Brushing up against somebody by accident, as you just said, is not the worst thing in the world. This woman right here, she was just deflecting in that moment. She just doesn't care. I mean, she just does not care. Because what? Heretofore, there's been no consequences. She gets coddled and dined and wined by the White House and her colleagues in the Senate. Right, the donors go out of their way by putting out commercials in her home state, lauding her and lifting her. So if you were Senator Sinema, John, under those circumstances, would you feel any urge to change your behavior?
No. I'd be worried about someone brushing up against me. But we should be worried about who she's rubbing elbows with at these little parties. I'm glad to see she's back in the United States. I think that's great. Apparently she ended her European vacation to raise money in Paris and I don't know, Monaco. I honestly don't know because even though she's a United States senator, she doesn't feel like we need to know what country she's even going to raise money. But she is back. She's hanging out with Republicans, which I think just makes perfect sense. And people are getting really frustrated. I want to show you a little bit more video. Like this woman really does try, and she's being like she's just asking questions. She's not yelling at her. She's not following her into the bathroom. This is what we were told we were supposed to do. Let's see how far it gets her.
Either no monsoons or it's the longest season. People are suffering. Your constituents are suffering. What are you going to do about climate change? Next week in Glasgow could be the last chance. Please answer me, Senator. My family, my house, we're from Tucson, we're constituents.
Thanks for your work, sir. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Oh, I love that Tim Scott did that at the end. So neither of them were gonna talk to her for a second. She's asking about climate change, nonsense like climate change. But as they're going up the thing, someone says, like your work. Oh, he turned his head and he said, thanks for that. If it's just a compliment, no criticism, no questions, they'll take that from a constituent or even a rando. But if you're asking her to make good on years and years of promises that she's made, that she accepts the science on climate change, that she'll do something about it. She was literally in the Green Party. No, you don't even merit a response from one of your constituents. It's so disrespectful. And I hope that people in Arizona are seeing these videos and they'll do something come primary time.
Let us hope, John. I mean, they don't even acknowledge the existence of constituents. I mean, really, how much effort does it take, even if you don't like it, I mean, I've certainly served in elected office, and everybody that approached me didn't approach me properly. I mean, that lady actually, as you said, laid out. I mean, she did everything just perfect. Her tenor, in terms of how one comports themselves, she did absolutely the right thing. She didn't yell. She didn't get in her space. Just asking her questions. You should acknowledge somebody's existence, especially if you work for the public. I mean, they acting like they work for private sector, but you know what, John? Yep. Actually, they do work for the private sector, if you think about it. Because the private sector is running the US Senate. Make no doubt about it. The owner donors are in full control, so much so now these senators don't even turn around and acknowledge the very public that they are supposed to be in service to. But you know what, John? They do. They acknowledge who they really do serve.
Yeah.
And that's their owner donors.
Yeah, and everybody needs to understand that going into this. Okay, super fast. I just want to let you know that you know how like the Biden had been pushing for 12 weeks of paid leave, and thanks to people like Sinema and especially Manchin, it had been cut down to 4. Manchin's against including the 4. We're not gonna go super in depth. Maybe we'll talk about it tomorrow. Like he literally wants to keep it at 0. Is that awesome? He's a millionaire, owns a coal company. You don't get any leave. Do you think he takes leave when he wants it? Do you think that he gets time off? I think he gets time off actually, but he's against it. Anyway, before we go to break though, I do want to let you know about something. So we gave you 2 members of the Billionaire Defense Force, Mitt Romney and Mitch McConnell. Mitt Romney implied that if you try to tax them, it's pointless. They'll just invest in ranches. Man, that dude can't stop thinking about horses, can he? Whereas Mitch McConnell really made an argument more about, I guess you guys are jealous, you poors, because you didn't invest wisely enough. Which of those Billionaire Boy comments did you find more annoying? You can go to tyt.com/polls and vote for either Mitch McConnell or Mitt Romney there. And in not too much longer, maybe on tomorrow's show, we'll reveal the results. So tyt.com/polls on the Billionaire Boys Club. With that said, we're gonna take a short break. We got a lot more after this. Okay, everybody, want to give you an early heads up. We're going to talk about this tomorrow on the show too, but every month for our tier 3 YouTube members, we do a live members Q&A and chit chat. We hang out 30 minutes, 45 minutes, talk about politics, non-politics. If you've been watching shows, people are going to want to ask me about Dune probably. I still haven't seen it, I apologize. But that's going to be taking place this Thursday at 12 p.m. Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern time. We always have a fun group of people who get together. And if you want, and I love when people do this, you can go to the community tab right now. And there's a tab there where you can leave questions and comments and things like that for us to talk about during that time. You can do it live too, but we love going into it with some questions. And there's a few members of the community that always do that. And that's, we just love that. Also want to let you know about an opportunity. So TYT is looking for new video content creators for our Rebel HQ channel. So we're looking for people who are interested in possibly writing, producing, hosting, and editing short form editorial content, the sort of content that exists on Rebel HQ now about politics stories, social stories, breaking news, all of that with a progressive point of view. If you're interested in this, you can go to tyt.com/careers to find out more about the position and to apply to be considered. You can watch Rebel HQ on YouTube and Facebook to see some of the content being made by our current contributors, including Adrian Lawrence, David Schuster, Richard Ojeda, and more. And you can bring your perspective, your life experience, and more to Rebel HQ. That's at tyt.com/careers. Let's see, with that said, Cypher Dragon has been a tier 2 member for 10 months, says love this show, and I want to give a shout out to my best friend, Katie Ferguson from Michigan. Well, Katie Ferguson, Cypher Dragon, thank you to both of you. Over the super chat, KKB sent in a super chat saying this wealth game is literally that, a game. They're just trying to get the highest score on a leaderboard, and being the sociopaths that they are, they don't care that it's at the expense of people's very real lives. Exactly, Mitt Romney has, I don't know, $200 million, $300 million. It doesn't matter in literally any way. If it was cut down to 100 or doubled to 600, it doesn't have any effect on his life, but what you have to do to move those numbers will certainly affect a lot of other people's lives. Bernie the Kiwi Dragon says, hello, John and Nina. Can Mitch stop being a turtle and poke his head out of his shell for a second? We can't all cheat our way out of paying our bills. We aren't all shameless grifters like they are. That's true. Too many of us are, but not. Yes, Dragon Slayer Dragon says, dragon face profile, left and right on each cheek. Daddy across your neck with the Texas star in the background below your Adam's apple. Well, that's the leading contender for my tattoo right now. And let's see if anyone can beat Dragon Slayer Dragon's idea. Anyway, Betty Ray Bob says, I love Tuesday, church on TDR where Senator Nina Turner gets a chance to preach. Thank you, Senator. That's awesome, love it. Over in Twitch, man, it's a big day for big resubscriptions. Here comes the Tony hit 13 months, says 13 months, John, child support is due. Hit me with that praise, Dragon Daddy, it's been a rough week. Thank you for being with us. The check is in the mail. Nipsey Dragon hit 9 months, says hello somebody. Hello to you, Nipsey Dragon. Patricia Swan gifted a tier 1 sub, thank you. South Carolina 88 hit 6 months, says I'm so happy TDR exists. Me too, because I don't have a backup plan. Full disclosure, this is the only thing I can do, honestly. A Dent Hitchhiking Dragon hit 14 months, says this is the first time I'm envious of US work conditions. I only get 25 days of paid vacation a year. Really, where are you? Where are you that we're doing better? I'm sorry to hear that, but thank you for your comment. Emerald Dragon Fairy hit 7 months, says hey Dragon Squad, thank you for that. Okay, we're running out of time. Ugh. Okay, thank you everybody, we're gonna get to more, but first, the news. Okay everyone, gonna need you to prepare yourself. We're gonna get into another truly awful story. More cops behaving badly, horribly in this case. So back in January, there was an individual named Cedric Altheimer, and he was doing his job driving around delivering newspapers. This is a job that many people have, and many people are allowed to just do that job, but not Cedric Altheimer. Because as he was doing it, he began to be followed by Sheriff Ed Troyer. Now, the sheriff eventually would claim that Cedric claimed he was going to kill him. And that apparently justified all of what happened to Cedric Altheimer. The sheriff called the police, and this is what the police caught on their body cams during their interaction with Cedric. We're gonna play you a portion of this video.
Hey, keep your hands where we can see them, hands on the steering wheel.
Is that what you're coming over here for?
Yeah, that's why we're coming over here, okay?
I'm suspicious, huh?
No, because he called saying that.
I don't care what he called for, he's following me.
Okay, we'll figure everything out.
Talk to him. I don't need you to figure out nothing, I am working.
We will figure everything.
I am working.
Okay.
I'm a black male in a white neighborhood, and I'm working.
That has nothing to do with that.
Yeah, it does.
No.
He's following me.
Okay. He's getting out of the way, okay?
Okay, he's still following me.
We will figure that out.
Yeah, get away from me. I don't care how many cops show up. He's following me. What? I don't give a f. I know he's a cop. You need how many cops for a newspaper carrier? Oh, you guys are some badasses. I swear to God, you guys are badasses.
Okay.
Stop reaching for stuff, dude. I'm not reaching. Don't keep your hands on the steering wheel. My hands haven't moved off the steering wheel.
Okay, can I explain it?
No, I don't need nothing to be explained to me. I'm being followed. Okay. He called the cops. Congratulations.
Yes.
I'm coming to and from my house. Ooh, he's committing a crime. He's black.
No one's saying
He's black.
Okay.
He's black.
I'm gonna explain.
Oh,
I'm gonna explain
I'm
why.
doing paper route.
Okay, I understand that. I see all the papers in your car.
Yeah,
okay?
congratulations.
He just called saying that someone threatened his life. That's why.
Cedric did not threaten his life. The cop lied about that. But that did not stop him from absolutely ruining the guy's night, making him go through this terrible experience. They called 40 police officers to the scene. The sheriff did. He'd been following Cedric in an unmarked SUV. Cedric was probably terrified that some weirdo was following him. And in the end, he was right. That weirdo just happened to be a cop who followed him for no reason, stopped him from doing his job, and then lied to make it seem as if he was potentially a murderer of a cop. And then also was claiming that he was moving his hands, that he might be reaching for something. We know what that is generally the prelude to when cops have become terrified. Nina Turner, what do you think?
Yeah, just trauma. That is the daily existence for Black people, that kind of trauma, underscore, underline, bold, trauma. And the fact that, again, thank God for body cams. Thank God for phones, even though that was a body cam, because they could have made up anything. I mean, John, this is that's why people need to understand the connections between what is still happening to the Black community in particular and what has happened historically. Like physical laws on books. See, there's de jure and factor, what happens in law and what happens in reality. Both law and reality for Black folks is what Cedric just went through on a regular basis. So I could understand why he was so upset, because he's just trying to do his job. He's just a working man. And you got this law enforcement person that is making stuff up, I want to say the other word, and then calling his boys to back up his nonsense, further traumatizing this man. Laws, Black people couldn't go places. They had to show papers. Right? There were laws on the books that Black people couldn't gather in groups, that they couldn't speak too loudly in the presence of white women. All kinds of nonsense. And all of these types of laws, whether de facto or de jure, behavior and law, has just been recycled, the 21st century version of it. So that man was absolutely traumatized and feared for his life, and rightfully so. 40 police officers for him, and then Dylan Roof gets taken to Burger King.
Yep.
I'm 100%. Over, John. The community is just tired. This is exhausting, mentally and physically exhausting.
Yeah, I honestly cannot imagine. I try to imagine, but I can't. I can't imagine. And that other cop walking up like, no, that has nothing to do with it. That is nothing. Does it have nothing to do with it? You think it has nothing to do with it?
Everything to do with it.
Exactly.
He was in the wrong place. He wasn't supposed to be in that kind of neighborhood.
Yeah.
Without permission.
I love his response. The way he it was just so real. The way he was responding. God only knows how many times he's had experiences like this. Maybe not quite as bad. Maybe not 40 cops, but being followed in his car, when he's in a store. I honestly cannot imagine the accumulated effect of that kind of nonsense, that kind of BS. Now, thankfully, in this case, Troyer is going to face up to 364 days in jail and a $5,000 fine on each count involving the lying about he claimed that the guy threatened to kill a cop. That's insanity. And for what? What is obviously this guy is crazy. Obviously this guy is a racist. What did he think was going to come about as a result of this? Why go to all of this trouble? But this is what cops do, and the system is set up to defend them, to allow them to contend. Thankfully in this case, he's gonna suffer consequences, but all too often, this is just a thing that we find out that they did after they eventually end up killing someone. We say, oh, by the way, back in 2015, they had done this one thing. Well, thankfully in this case, they're gonna be stopping it with this one thing.
Yeah, thank the Lord.
Thank the Lord.
Without that camera, I don't think it would be true, John, unfortunately.
Yeah, maybe not. Okay, really fast, we're gonna go to this one last story with the time that we have with the senator. So let's jump into this. Late Monday night, we found out that some of the craziest representatives in Congress, people like Paul Gosar, Marjorie Greene, Lauren Boebert, others, had in fact been meeting, and their staffs had been meeting with some of those organizing protests on January 6th. Now, this was a revelation because none of those representatives, none of their staffs had admitted this freely in the last 9 months since we've been trying to find out what happened on January 6th. But thankfully, Rolling Stone has got multiple sources. We will see what ends up happening. I don't take anything reported, necessarily as gospel or anything like that. But a long list of representatives were cited, including Andy Biggs too, Louis Gohmert, a lot of people. Now, few of them have actually engaged with this reporting, but now one more has. Representative Marjorie Greene has called the article's allegations, quote, ridiculous, and called the article itself a pathetic piece of trash in an interview that she did with the Daily Caller. She says they're talking about their sources and quoting sources, but not giving names. So that just reminds me of the whole Russian collusion lie and the type of language that Adam Schiff uses when he's talking about sources. They're not sending their best when they send Marjorie Greene to Congress. The whole thing is their same playbook: make up a story, publish it, then all the other outlets rinse and repeat. So that's her response. There's apparently nothing to, she's not engaging with any of the specifics. She's not confirming whether or not she had communicated with these people, whether her team has communicated with these people. She is just attacking it and trying to make it about something to do with Russia or whatever, ignoring the fact that, of course, there are stakes in this. We want to know what happened. A lot went on, including, by the way, 5 people dying, 140 police officers being injured, including things like a broken spine, a lost eye, lost fingers, brain damage, multiple cases of PTSD, 2 Capitol Police officers dying by suicide in the wake of it. But that is the response that we get from a representative that reporting ties to the organization of something that turned deadly. We don't get to have an honest response. She instead just attacks it and talks about Adam Schiff.
Deflecting, she is. And she's a nutcase. She really is. Just deflecting. And for all the people who were injured, people who lost their lives, but particularly to law enforcement, because these people claim to care so much about and love, but these insurrectionists did not care. As a matter of fact, turned their venom on the Capitol Police wholesale. Marjorie Taylor Greene is doing what we call COA. That's what she's doing right now. And just deflecting her little heart out. She knows good and well that she had or her staff had some conversations because the way those folks, that January 6th insurrection, those her people right there. That's it. But now she's deflecting and COA.
Exactly. And by the way, she could say, we talked to the organizers, and that was the protest. That wasn't this riot that Antifa did or whatever. She could say that. She's not even doing that. She's implying that she didn't. All the reporting is wrong, by the way. They say in that reporting that Paul Gosar talked about getting blanket pardons from the White House. And I'll ask the same question I asked yesterday. Pardons for what? You don't need a pardon to protest. Protesting is legal. You can do that. No one was arrested for going to Trump's speech. You had to literally bust down a door, threaten to kill Mike Pence to get arrested. So what were the pardons for? She doesn't care. She's not interested in that. It's not just that she's innocent. All of them are innocent. So we'll see. One representative is taking a slightly different approach. Representative Mo Brooks, he says he had no involvement in planning it. But then he goes on to say, I don't know if my staff did, but if they did, I'd be proud of them for helping to put together a rally lawful under the First Amendment at the Ellipse to protest voter fraud and election theft. So he kind of throws his staff under the bus, but then says, hey, if you're under the bus right now, it's actually cool. It's a great place to be. Thank you for your service. Also, Biden stole the election. So this is where we're at in America. Our representatives can do and say whatever they want. There are like basically no consequences. They can threaten violence against Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Barack Obama. That's what Green did. Like, she is perhaps the worst. She lost her committee assignments. That is as far as the accountability goes these days.
Yeah, and she doesn't care because most likely, unfortunately, she's gonna get reelected. So we need the folks to wake the hell up, John. This is it. None of this is acceptable at all.
No. So we're gonna see. Maybe we'll find out more. Supposedly they're gonna speak to Congress. Those sources, we'll find out. In any event, that is unfortunately all the time we have at this first hour. It's also all the time that we have with Senator Nina Turner. As always, thank you so much for joining us.
Until next time, John.
Thank you, everyone. Become a member so you can check out Power Hour. You can get a taste of it in podcast form on Monday, so check that out. For those of you on Twitch and YouTube, the members app, we do have more coming at you. We're gonna take a short break, but we'll be back after this. Hello everyone and welcome to what remains of TDR. Thank you to those of you on YouTube, Twitch members app. We love having you here. We would have loved to have more Senator Nina Turner, but she's obviously very busy and we're very lucky to have her for the time that we do. Want to let you know before we jump back into the news, we do have some fun, including meanwhile in that there's some big stuff coming up, including Indisputable. That'll be going live in about 27 minutes. Dr. Rashad Ritchie, as well as Francesca Fiorentini. How fun is that? A little Fantastic Tuesday action on Indisputable. Albert Eisenberg will be on as well for a debate. I'm sure that'll be spicy. So you can check that out on Twitch and at youtube.com/indisputable_TYT. Should be a lot of fun. Also want to let you know that today is Tuesday, which means that soon you can join Jordan Ewell and do a little deep dive at 1 p.m. Pacific time, 4 p.m. Eastern time. They always have a lot of fun there. Get wet with Jordan Ewell. That's what he always says. He's saying that, just always saying that for some reason. I think it's a little bit weird, but he likes it. Anyway, also we're a podcast. Did you know that? We're a podcast. Maybe you've listened to us in podcast form. I have occasionally. You know what would be great though, if you do? You could rate us and review us on iTunes. That's still apparently a big important thing. So please do that for us if you listen. Anyway, a couple little member shout outs I want to do, including the new for 11 months at tier 1 member London Shadows, who has the coolest name that I think I've ever heard. So London Shadows, thank you. Says, thanks for showing the real deal always. Love the damage report. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Tara Sherbinko has been a tier 2 member for 5 months. Says, hey Dragon Squad, happy Tuesday. Thanks John and TYT for helping to keep me sane during all the craziness these past few years. Woohoo for Senator Turner joining us on Tuesdays. Isn't that cool? She's here every Tuesday. That's awesome. I love it. JL says, Nina inspires me to keep fighting. Dragon Queen in a super chat. Thank you. Sharon Kelly says, John, I have to disagree. 600 million will definitely buy me a much bigger super yacht than 400 million. Will it? I really hope that there's no yacht where that makes a big difference, but perhaps when it comes to yachts. On the pre-show yesterday, we talked about the plight of billionaires and millionaires trying to buy yachts, and there's apparently a shortage. I feel really bad for them. Sometimes it takes a year or two to get the yacht that you want. Those poor bastards. Nick Wax over on Twitch has subscribed for the 6 months. Thank you. It's me, hit 6 months as well. How awesome. Whiskey Eye hit 14 months, getting up there, Whiskey Eye. TYT Engaged at 16, damn. Engaged quite a while ago, actually. Crochet by Nat A hit 6 months, thank you. And Dragon Rose of Desire, what a name, hit 15 months. Says, every time I hear John say, but I hear Robin from How I Met Your Mother, but I love it. I've never actually watched that, thank you. Thank you for watching us. Okay, with that, let's talk about some news, bearing in mind that you are stuck with just me, but you decided to keep watching, so it's really on you at this point. Just a few days ago, we found out about the tragedy that happened on the set of the movie Rust with actor Alec Baldwin tragically killing Helena Hutchins with a weapon on the set. Now, in the wake of that, there have been a lot of different revelations of concerns that had been raised on the set. Pretty much everyone involved in the process seems to have known on some level, and in some cases warned that terrible things were potentially in the works there. So I want to go through some of the evidence of this that's been raised in the past few days. The prop master, Neil Zamorowski, who's worked in the industry for 30 years, told the LA Times that he had a bad feeling following 4 days of meetings with the film's managers after he was asked to join the crew. He says there were massive red flags. He told the LA Times that the movie was prioritizing saving money over protecting people's safety and ultimately turned down the job. And in particular said this, after I pressed send on that last email, I felt in the pit of my stomach that is an accident waiting to happen. Now, you might think, okay, well, there was an accident, and so hindsight is 2020. There's always gonna be someone who is worried, but it very much seems to be a trend. There were concerns about the armor, for instance. 24-year-old armor in charge of safety, having to do the firearms. 2 production sources told the Daily Beast that filming on the set of her last movie was briefly stopped after she allegedly gave a gun to an 11-year-old actress without checking it properly. So I have no idea what the average age of an armor for is. It is entirely possible that a 24-year-old could be responsible with firearms and all of that. seems a little bit dangerous. The fact that they'd already had an issue. Remember, like one of the concerns was that they were getting very willy-nilly about who was actually handing these guns. It is supposed to be the armorer checks it, hands it to the actor, takes it back from the actor and checks it. My wife actually has worked on sets where she has had to use guns. And that is the case. It's not being handed by anyone else, and you're not keeping the gun between takes and all of that stuff. It's very serious. And so when you have someone who already has a documented history of not complying with these standards, that is concerning. And so one of the sources says about this particular armor, she was a bit careless with the guns, waving it around every now and again, waving it around. There were a couple times she was loading the blanks and doing it in a fashion that we thought was unsafe. And again, none of this that I'm telling you right now is intended to say we know who was responsible. The picture it paints is that this was a set where safety, particularly around guns, was not foremost in their minds. And so there were a number of areas where the system really seems like it broke down. You have this post from the chief electrician saying professionals are the people who spent years on sets. They've done so much of this that they know it as a reflex. But it's still dangerous. And to save a dime, sometimes you hire people who are not fully qualified for the complicated and dangerous job, and you risk the lives of the other people who are close and your lives as well. I understand that you always fight for the budget, but you cannot allow that to happen. There should always be at least one professional in each department who knows the job. It is an absolute must to avoid such a tragedy like the tragedy with Helena. You have an assistant director apparently handing Alec Baldwin the gun, had been fired from a previous job after a gun went off on a set and wounded a member of the film crew. That movie was called Freedom's Path. Dave Hollis was apparently fired just a couple of years ago after a crew member suffered a minor injury when a gun was unexpectedly discharged. The producer, who asked not to be identified by name, wrote that Halls was removed from the set immediately, and production did not resume until Halls was gone. So look, this is just a couple of days, and we're already learning so much about this. Some said that there had been a walkout, that Helena in particular had raised concerns about safety. Now, some of this report, like it's difficult to track all the time whether all of this reporting ends up being confirmed. A lot of stuff gets spread in the wake of tragedies like this. But it is clear that there are significant concerns about many of the decisions that were made by the producers, by the managers of this film. And we will see in the end, there's certainly going to be civil lawsuits. Much will be discovered during that process. But it really does seem like this was already a tragedy. But if it's one that multiple people raised concerns about, if it's one that could have been avoided apparently so easily, it makes it even worse. And coming out of it, I don't know how much, what the silver lining can be, but one thing that some people are pushing for is to end real guns on sets. There's a petition, 23,000 signatures have already been applied to this. A California senator is vowing ammunition legislation. We'll see if the petition does anything. We'll see if there's any sort of legislation specific to California, or obviously Atlanta has become a big filming place for these. But it really does seem at this point in 2021 that you can do it without the real ammunition. I feel like you make a lot of stuff happen without really doing it. That's kind of what films and TV are. I feel like you could do that. Years ago, I used to watch this YouTuber, Freddie Wong, I believe his name was, made amazing videos. They didn't use actual guns, but you really did think that they did. And those were YouTubers. I feel like Hollywood can figure it out. And sure, maybe it's one life a decade. Maybe to some that doesn't seem significant. To the family and friends of the person who dies needlessly, it seems like the most important thing in the world. I feel like we can move on from this. I feel like we have the technology. Anyway, we're gonna switch things up to, hey, what do you know? More bad news. Sorry for that, but for just 1 second, I do want to read a few more. I've seen some updates of what's going on in the audience. Blue Tech, the Belgian Dragon, gifted 5 more tier 1 subs, doing a lot of gifting. Great ambassador throughout the show today. Thank you, Blue Tech. Really do appreciate that. And True Evil subscribed for the 2nd month. Mariah, the Ginkgo Dragon, subscribed as well. Thank you to all of you becoming a part of the community. Really do appreciate that. Let's also acknowledge Latubist, 00 Sith Lord Dragon, and Shinar all subscribing during today's show, and Alaska Snow Dragon for subscribing for the 3rd month. Thank you. Thank you to all of you. Really do appreciate it. Okay, we're doing okay on time. Why don't we move into our next story? This is gonna be a weird one. How often do we talk about something like this? You might have thought that we moved past child labor as a country. Well, maybe in some ways we did decades and decades ago, but it doesn't mean a little backsliding can't occur from time to time. Wisconsin Senate recently approved a bill just last week that would allow 14 and 15-year-olds to work until 11 p.m. on some days, much later than current laws allow. Supporters of the bill say it could help plug the state's labor shortage. Well, if you've been watching the show for a while, you know what we think about these claims about labor shortages. It doesn't seem like there's really a labor shortage, like overall. It seems like there's a labor shortage for the sort of conditions that the employers want, that the pay that they want to provide. And so you've seen in a lot of different areas them willing to make little adjustments to make sure that people stay desperate, that they fill these jobs with the sort of workers that they want, not the sort of workers that we now have. Workers who've been through a horrendous couple of years and are perhaps more in tune with the exploitation that's become so casual in the United States than ever before. They've wised up. Employers are not going to adjust casually. They're not going to offer better conditions and more pay without a fight. And this is what that fight looks like. So currently, Wisconsin has stuck to federal child labor laws, which stipulate that people under the age of 16 can only work between 7 a.m. and 9 p.m. from June 1st to Labor Day, and between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. for the rest of the year. Obviously, the difference between summer and the rest of the year. So the bill would keep in place federal rules limiting teens to 3 hours of work on a school day, 8 hours on non-school days, and 6 days of work a week. How generous? How generous are they? And the new bill would not cover businesses that have annual revenues of more than 500,000 or workers involved in interstate commerce. I assume the interstate commerce part is with fears of how the Supreme Court might get involved in this. I think that those fears are misplaced. The current Supreme Court is incredibly conservative. I don't think they care if you lock a kid in a coal mine for the rest of his life. But they're at least a little bit worried in Wisconsin. And there are some people who are supportive of this. So that includes hotel and tourism industry lobbyists. Weird that they'd be on that position of this. It's currently opposed by the Wisconsin AFL-CIO, a federation of unions. So the normal sort of battle lines that you might expect here. What's interesting though is the numbers. So Wisconsin currently has nearly 3 million people in employment I believe that should be unemployment. Per preliminary August data from the US Bureau of Labor Statistics, roughly as many as it did before the pandemic hit. But businesses across the state still say they're struggling to find enough workers. And so look, I have not seen a lot of states going in this particular direction. But you have seen a lot of concern about people being lazy and people expecting too much. This comes in multiple forms. You have politicians complaining about this. You have those viral posts about how Chipotle needs to close down because our workers won't show up. Well, what they don't say is that their workers won't show up for the current conditions, the current pay. And I would really hope that you'll go take a look at a video we put up on our channel just a couple of days ago. It involved an individual in Florida who decided to do an experiment. And so spent 2 months applying to 2 jobs every day and realizing that it is very difficult to get a job in these states that are supposedly so desperate for workers. But I should add a caveat. It's difficult to get a job that actually pays a meaningful wage. And here I mean just the wage that they advertise. They literally will lie in the postings. They will lie to get people to apply and then offer them lower money, saying that you can work your way up there with seniority. And oh, by the way, we know that we listed this as a full-time job that would obviously have benefits, but instead we're gonna keep you right below that and maybe someday we'll move you up to that. So those are the sorts of things that I'm so grateful that a person made that clear and that places like the Insider are giving you the results of that. But that's not what you'll see the New York Times, the Washington Post, like they're just desperate for labor. It's used to justify moves like this child labor thing because they need people who don't know. They don't know that they deserve better. They don't understand, they haven't been through the pandemic in terms of employment. And so that is what they're doing. They're willing to change the law before they're willing to actually increase your pay to make the conditions of work better. And so we'll see if this ends up actually being signed into law. We'll see if the country actually pays attention to it. It's been several days and I have not seen this widely reported. If it goes through, will other states consider this? Seems like a direction they might go in. Okay, with that, we're gonna prep to travel around the world. Okay, we're gonna do that in one moment. By the way, there were times when I was young. So my first actual job, like I did work for like my grandfather and everything, the normal stuff you do, waxing cars and mowing lawns and everything. Our first real job was working as a busboy in an Italian restaurant. And I would work some late nights, okay? And I ended up being kind of okay. But should that be widespread? Is that the future that we want for our country? The idea that like, oh God, like if you're gonna have any chance of affording college, you better be grinding out your high school years leading up to this. Is that what we want? That's the direction some people don't mind us going in. Okay, let's see, really fast. I did see a comment here from Postal Wench saying, I know you don't talk much about international news, but could you mention YouTube deleting Novara Media? They're back now, but it's an important story. Yes, certainly worthy of mention. So I'd seen Ash Sarkar has been on our show before, and I saw her tweets about that. We'll see if YouTube explains why they took down this channel. Now, thankfully, they did put it back up. Maybe it's just a mistake. Maybe, we'll see. Anyway, Josh SES says Bezos has $194.1 billion. Boy, he must work very hard. It's amazing the world we've set up, the inequality that we tolerate. Anyway, with that, okay, let's do this. Let's have a little bit of fun. It's time for news from around the world, and meanwhile in. Meanwhile, in Spain, specifically on the island of La Palma, we're gonna give you a little update. How often do meanwhile-ins involve updates? So last week we reported on the fact that there is volcanic activity near the island, which has made it impossible to reach. Dogs had been left behind on the island, and so a scheme was cooked up to potentially save the dogs by using cargo drones to pluck them up like a claw machine and then fly them away over quite a bit of red hot magma. So it was a scary thing. Turns out not gonna be necessary. That's an adorable picture of Jesus. I want that Australian Shepherd. Anyway, but why? It's actually a bit of a mystery. So drone operators were preparing for this incredibly dangerous mission when they realized that the dogs were gone. Now that is scary. Thankfully, they appear to be alive. There was a sign left behind. We're gonna show you a picture of that sign. And it says, the dogs are fine, and it's signed A team. Now, it just saying the dogs are fine with the dogs disappearing does not reassure me as a lover of dogs. That seems a little bit scary, but it is a team that was involved. Now, I would love to know, is it a team or is it the A team? I think that distinction really matters. No clarification has been provided. Really in any area, not just their name, but what actually happened. So drones had been keeping the dogs alive by providing food and water that they would drop for them. Eventually the drones were sent out and we just don't know. Apparently there are footprints that are on the island now that weren't there. So it doesn't appear that some rival drone operator saved them. People actually went to this island that was so dangerous you couldn't get a helicopter to and left with the dogs. But where are the dogs now? We have no idea. The company that was going to do the actual rescue says that the dogs appear to have been carried to safety. There's no sign of like their deaths or anything. But nobody's actually claimed it. That is sort of weird. We have some video, my producers are telling me. So let's go to a video of some of the evidence that we have previously.
Mejores hombres del ejército americano que formaban un comando fueron encarcelados por un delito que no habían cometido. No tardaron en fugarse de la prisión en la que se encontraban recluidos. Hoy, buscados todavía por el gobierno, sobreviven como soldados de fortuna. Si tiene usted algún problema y si los encuentra, quizá pueda contratarlos. El equipo A.
I don't know what the gunfire was at the end there. The entire thing is so mysterious. So people, like someone in the chat is like, oh, they probably use thermal imaging to plot a safe course. Okay, that still seems incredibly dangerous. They like literally dogs couldn't get out, they couldn't get people in, and someone came in and brought a sign. And look, sometimes people will do stuff for publicity. I think you deserve recognition for this. The fact that they don't want it, that just seems kind of weird at this point, considering the gravity of what they did. I really hope that the dogs are safe. The pictures are adorable of them, and the idea of them dying by lava is just more than a dog lover like me can take. But this is one of the weirdest stories. I don't have a resolution. I don't know what happened, but I hope somebody actually claims responsibility for this because they did an amazing thing. Unless it went tragic at the end. Anyway, meanwhile in Colombia, there are these hippos, and they're going to be considered persons. It involves a US court, it involves Pablo Escobar. The whole thing is really weird. It's basically lava dogs all over again, but let me tell you what happened. So some 100 hippos that are descendants from a herd that was smuggled into the country of Colombia by Pablo Escobar are now recognized as, quote, interested persons following a federal court decision this month, believed to be the first of its kind in the United States. So, okay, there's a lot here. First of all, how did we get the hippos? Because you don't normally find hippos there. Well, they were smuggled into the drug lord's private zoo back in the 1980s, just 4 of them initially. In the 26 years since then, these hippos have done what hippos do, which is get it on, because now there's a herd of more than 80 animals, and they're considered the largest parasites there. They're an invasive species, apparently causing some damage, so much so that Colombia had considered different plans to cull them, to wipe out these hippos. One individual, an animal rights lawyer, filed a lawsuit back in the middle of last year, seeking to prevent them being killed. And so they decided they will instead sterilize them. The United States has donated dozens of doses of the chemical currently used to sterilize animals such as horse and deer to Colombia. I know what you're thinking. It is a terrible injustice that we have sent those doses of horse sterilizer to another country before conservatives could get a chance to use it for curing God knows what. But anyway, now there's this court case recognizing some level of personhood of the hippos. We will have to see what effect that has long term on the plans to sterilize, or if there will be renewed plans to potentially cull them. There's a lot of anti-hippo sentiment there, but this is incredibly important and interesting outside of just the hippos. There have been a variety of cases in other countries recognizing animal personhood for animals like dolphins and various primates. This is really important for the future of rights of animals like pigs and things like that are incredibly complex social animals. It has potential impacts on elephants as well as whales. So this is something to look into, not just because it's a salacious cocaine hippo story. It actually matters beyond just that. Anyway, I wish that we had more time to talk about lava dogs and cocaine hippos, but we're running right up against the end of our show. So I want to thank everybody for joining us. Thanks once again to Senator Nina Turner for giving us some of her time and making our day. Thank you for watching, everyone. Indisputable is coming up in just a little bit. Francesca Fiorentini is gonna be joining Rashad Ritchie, so you know you're not gonna wanna miss that. So you can stay at Twitch, you can head over to youtube.com/indisputable TYT to watch that. Until next time, stay safe out there, stay sane out there. We'll see you soon.